Welcome to the In Good Company podcast. This is a space for real conversations about leadership, business, and the moments that shape us along the way. I'm your host, Ginger Jones, and through my work, I've had the privilege of sitting in rooms with thoughtful leaders, founders, and executives who care deeply about how they grow, how they lead, and how they show up. This podcast is an extension of those rooms. We'll share honest stories, meaningful insights, and conversations that will help you think a little differently about the mile you're in and the one that's ahead. Thanks so much for being here. Let's get started. I think we'll just get started. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
And I always, when I'm driving, and like getting ready in the morning, I think about how we got connected, and I'm really grateful because I was like, I don't know, did anybody connect us, or did
I think Deborah? I think
right.
Deborah did.
That's right.
Initially.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just really glad we're connected.
Yeah,
You're
I
like
am
somebody
too.
that
I am
I'm
too,
like
very much.
Next Mile's brought the best people into my life, and I think without that, I wouldn't have gotten to meet the good people. So
It's been good too for me for that reason. It's. I think I told you I'm like this year. I specifically said where do I need to spend more time and where do I need to spend less time? And Next Mile was one of those that was kind of a no-brainer. This is one, even last year, just when I first got started, I don't even know how long it's been now at this point, but it's every event, there's always some things to take out of it. Even if it's not a connection that I make in the room, there's always some little nugget that I can pull from.
Sure, make you better. Yeah.
And hopefully I add to that as well. So
no, you totally do. That's one of the things I think what I love and what I want to talk about today is you're so what I guess would consider like multifaceted, right? Because people would see you as like this wealth advisor, but then you've got an athlete's background, and then you had changes in leadership, and also you having like a health scare and things like that. So I mean, there's a million things we could talk about, but I guess
Whatever
I think let's jump into, because I know you're really passionate about health, and I think for leaders, we're not always great about that. Like for me personally, it's like if you look at the wheel of life, it's usually one of the things for me that I'll be running on an energy drink or working out sporadically. So tell me about like how you got passionate about that, and what you do today and how important you think it is.
Yeah, I'll start with where that came from. And obviously I've shared my story with you, and I'm happy to share, all that today, but it all started I go back to my baseball days, and it's fun. I was just telling a guy that Deborah Sunderland connected me to, and he and I were I was having a decaf coffee, and he was having, actually, he wasn't even having coffee, but he asked me about the decaf, and I kind of just went into my health story, and I talked about all this stuff, but it goes back even to when I was playing baseball, and in high school, was in pretty good shape. I kind of had, a little bit of a chunky kid growing up, and then I got in shape, and then I got into college, tore my meniscus in my knee my freshman year of baseball, and had to take a medical red shirt, and got it back out of shape again, and spent like 2 years in college still playing baseball, but just not being very productive, not really helping the team too much. We won a national championship in 1996, and I had literally nothing to do with it.
Oh, wow.
It's kind of one of these things. And then over the summer of, I guess it was the summer of 97, I got in really good shape, lost like 35 pounds over the summer. And it kind of that was kind of the first time where I went through this process of, you can really control this. You don't have to, you have ultimate control over those things. And then, fast forward, kind of went these ups and downs, through the next 15 or whatever years. But then in January of 2020 is when I ended up in the hospital. So I, had horrible stomach pain, ended up in the hospital. Luckily, my wife convinced me to go to the hospital after about 5 hours of me laying in bed, in fetal position in agony. And turns out I had pancreatitis. But they also found what they called a cyst initially on my kidney. Came back the next day and said, this looks like 85% sure that this is cancer, that it's a cancerous tumor. And so that's kind of the genesis of all this, is where this health thing started. And my wife immediately, and she knew when they said cyst, she knew it was cancer, whether it was God or whatever. She just had this intuition that we need to start looking into this and start doing something. We've talked about this, but God puts people in your life for specific reasons, and he put Candace in my life for a number of reasons, but this was one of the big ones. Like, this was kind of the big thing. And so she immediately starts researching on what you can do for cancer in more of a natural sense, because quite frankly, the doctors did a great job with the pancreatitis, right? I needed them for the pancreatitis. Right. But then for the cancer, they essentially just said, we can get you in here on Tuesday and we can cut this thing out. We're like, what else can we do? And they said, nothing. This is how we handle kidney cancer. And we just said, it's not good enough. It's not the path we want to take. And
because would cutting out, like, it could have come back, but also could have damaged your kidney significantly?
Well, so your kidney is about 10 centimeters in length, and my tumor was 4.95, so it's half the size of the kidney. Wow. So the first question that I think Candace probably asked the question was, are you going to take out the whole kidney or just take out the tumor? He said, we'll do our best to leave as much kidney as possible. So I just had this thought that they were going to take the whole kidney. The whole thing would have to come out, and then you can live with one kidney, but I think the life you have is diminished, because energy levels are different. You can't. I don't think you can do the things. And then, what if something happens to that other kidney, and now you're stuck with other issues, obviously. Yeah. So we wanted a natural path, and the first thing, that natural path, was, what do you put in your body? From a food standpoint, right? So there's a few different levels of the things that we did and the thought process that went into it, but it's, what are you putting into your body? And I think people, when they decide they want to get healthy, they say, what do I not need to eat? Right? That's kind of the first thing. Is, what can I eliminate from my diet that's going to make me healthy? We took it even a step further, and the mindset became, not what do I not need to eat, but what do I need to eat that's going to benefit my body? So obviously, what is the best cancer-fighting foods we can eat? And it came down to completely, I hate using the term vegan, but it was completely vegan, or just completely plant-based. Even for the first 90 days, it was completely raw, so only raw foods for 90 days. And we've kind of gone back and forth on that. Like, I've gone through some raw diets where I just eat raw, and but that was the kind of the big part of the big change for us, was that cancer scare.
That happened,
And I hate to say cancer scare, because I still have a tumor. It's still in still in the kidney, but it seems it's just a ball of dead cancer cells.
Is it any smaller?
I haven't had it checked in about a year and a half. And I don't know that I'm gonna go get it checked. I might. I kind of felt God nudging me about, 6 weeks ago, saying, hey, let's kind of get back on track a little bit. Let's pay more attention to what we were doing. So I might get it scanned again. But at the last scan, it has not changed in size since January 8th of 2020. Wow. Yeah. Now it looks like it's changed consistency, which is why now we feel like it's just
like dead.
It's just a dead.
Yeah.
And it might be there and they told me from the beginning, not the doctors in the hospital, but the people that I went to see outside of that, non-traditional, and they said, look, this may be there forever. It may have been there for the last 25 years, right? We have no real idea on what that timeline was.
So how did you keep, like, in that moment, how did you keep fear from taking over and really have that sense of, like, this is something I can take charge of?
Yeah, so theres a guy named Chris Wark that has a program. He helped himself defeat cancer, naturally with all this, but he came up with a program called the Square One Diet, or the Square One Program. It's not just a diet, but it's an entire program, and he's helped hundreds and thousands and probably millions of people. The first thing that I remember reading in his book and watching some of his tapes was, if you're going to fight cancer or some other disease in a natural way, you have to take ownership of that disease. So the big thing was I had a big reason for me having cancer. So owning that and not playing the victim, or because I think a lot of doctors sometimes say, oh, I'm so sorry this happened to you. And that's fine. I mean, I hate that this stuff happens to people, but I had a lot to do with it, right? I mean, lived very unhealthy, played baseball, dipped Copenhagen for 20 something years, right? All of these things I know had a big impact on, where I was. So taking ownership of it and saying, I'm not going to be a victim. We're going to figure out the best way to do this. That was the first piece. And then the second piece was they still don't know why they can't give me a good reason why I had pancreatitis.
Right. I was like, but that's such an interesting, like God thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Because it
like the thing you think.
Well, it's funny because when I went into the hospital, for pancreatitis, the attending physician, or whatever, he comes in the room and he said, Mike, the first thing we got to do, we got to get you into the detox area. I'm like, why? Like, why am I going there?
Because that's right.
And he goes, well, you're obviously an alcoholic, right? I'm like, no,
and that
I
was
don't think
because
so.
of the pancreatitis?
Yeah, so and I'm going to probably mess these numbers up because it's been a while, but I think your normal pancreatic enzymes are supposed to be between like 300 and 500, and mine were 27,000. So I don't even know what that means to this day, but that seems like a lot.
But aren't there people that aren't alcoholics with pancreatitis? I mean, obviously you're one, but I would assume. Like,
I assumed,
that's interesting.
So.
They just assumed.
Well, because he said the only time we see those levels are with alcoholics.
Wow.
So I pretty much for like 30, 40 minutes had to convince this guy that I wasn't an alcoholic. And I was convincing enough, so they let me stay where I was. But the reason I say that is, like medically, there's no real reason that they can identify that I had pancreatitis. And I know it was God trying to get a hold of me. And that's...
Wake you up,
So when I kind of realized that and kind of had this thing, because I've had a relationship with Christ since 91, but not a close relationship. So I think that was his way to say, he calls people by name. That was how he called me by name.
Yeah.
So that kind of removed that fear a little bit. Don't get me wrong. I had plenty of days where I was upset and, it was... Candace loved it, though, because she loves to cry. So I'd sit there and cry, and she'd come over, and we'd cry together.
Like,
it was awesome.
We're crying together,
yeah. But that was. I mean, it was knowing that I had control over it, and that I had God with me.
That's it's a powerful lesson for anybody, I think, in any stage of like a health scare. And I think the thing that, for me, it's the thing that we always take for granted, right? Especially, I mean, the older I get, it definitely like, oh, I definitely took some things for granted I shouldn't have.
Yep.
But even in my late 40s, I'm taking things for granted, and it's like, I remember one of my friends said one time, like, you never realize how, like, to swallow without pain until after you've had a sore throat, you know? And like that moment, like when a sore throat goes away, you're like, oh my gosh, it's like, but think of how many times a day we swallow and it doesn't hurt. And so, when you have those moments of like getting better or recognizing that life happens so quick.
Well, and on that same note too, is like what you just said, right? In late 40s, I turned 50 in January, and it could have been real easy just to say what's done is done, right? Like or have this kind of condemning mindset of, because I mean I did a bunch of dumb stuff in my 20s and 30s, and I mean, I'm sure I'll do some more dumb stuff in my 50s, but it won't be health related. I hope not, or I hope at least. But it's not condemning yourself and understanding that I don't care how old you are, you can make changes.
Right.
There's things that medicine can help us with, but there's so much that God has given us. It's all out there for us to do. You just got to make the change.
And our bodies are so amazing. I mean, anybody that's, I think, as a woman having a baby, and like because Eric's getting ready to have a baby, and I was texting her last night. I was like, that postpartum, like baby blue stuff. I was like, your body's been through so much, when by the time that happens, you've had the pregnancy, you've delivered a baby, and you get weepy and you get a little crazy. And I mean, even just texting her that, it's like this reminder that our bodies are capable of so much. And yeah, I love that. Well, I mean, we could probably have a whole podcast on all the lessons that taught you, but from a leadership standpoint, like, how did that change you as leader of your family, leader of your community, leader at work? What do you think?
The word that keeps coming to me, or phrase, is not taking things for granted. And it's just, we have 3 little kids, and I at the time, and my firm was, they were terrific through this whole thing. I mean, they were great. They gave me all the time I needed and understood, because I was I was the VP of sales at the time, right? So I was still in that leadership role within the firm, and I was going to doctors, twice a week for 6 hours a day, and going through ozone treatment and just all these things. And they were completely understanding. They were completely fine with it. So, I mean, that one piece there taught me that you have to meet people kind of where they are, and be an organization and be a leader that actually truly embraces people and cares about people. And it's the same with my family is this gave me a lot more time to spend with my family, and intentionally, do that intentional time with them. And I think that's carried over, now that Cole and I are just running our own practice within the same firm. Leading our clients out of compassion and out of what we're really trying to help them with.
Right.
We understand that we have this servant's mentality, and that's why I'm so passionate about really everything that I'm involved in, right? Whether it's working out or whether it's eating healthy or all of those things I hate that it always comes back to that, but we only have the one body that God's given us, and it's important that we steward it well. But that translates over, how do we steward everything else well? How do we steward our time well? How do we steward our finances well? How can I help our clients do the same thing?
Yeah. What do you think leaders get wrong when it comes to health, like with because I know you surround yourself with a lot of good people. What do you see people get where they miss the mark?
This is an interesting one, because I think people don't know what true health is. Like, I don't think people understand what really eating healthy and doing things the way I see as the right way to do that. And I'm not suggesting that everybody needs to be plant-based, or everybody. I still eat meat, right? I still do. But I think if there's so much information, and if people can research and just do a little bit of additional research, they're going to see that there's a world out there that will make, you don't have to live with pain. You don't have to, you don't have to do those things. But I think the biggest thing that I see from leaders is that we're so busy that this thing like that gets pushed down pretty low on the scale. And I just mentioned that, we have this one body, and I go back, I think it's 1 Corinthians chapter 6, I think it's 19 and 20. And it's, Paul says, your body's a temple of the Holy Spirit that lives inside you, that was a gift from God. You are not your own. You were bought at a price. Therefore, honor God with your body. Right. It's the one thing. You talk about Eric's daughter having a baby. When that baby's born, it has one physical thing, and it's the body that God gives to it. We got to take care of that. So we focus on our families, which is great. We focus on our businesses, which is great. And don't hear what I'm not saying. There's nothing wrong with those things. Right. Where do we prioritize our health over those? Yeah. Or in conjunction with those? And what we normally see, at least from my standpoint, is it gets shoved down to the bottom.
I would agree. I would think in all my years of leadership and hanging out with founders and high achievers, I think that it just always like that can happen tomorrow, or that can happen this evening. And, when you're busy and running things, especially when you have a family, it's like, that's probably not going to happen,
Well, and because it takes preparation, it takes plan. Right. And man, this is when I find we talk, some of the questions we talk about at Next Mile, and, even like with our strategic sessions thing is, what's your routine hack? Like, what's the best productivity hack? And like 80, I'm making up a number, but 80% of people say it's my morning routine. I get up in the morning, I have devotion, I have time with God, I work out. But no one talks about, do I plan out my meals? Do I prep my meals? Do I do all these things? And when I find myself unprepared, it's kind of when you start going off the rails a little bit, right? So it's more reactive than proactive on that.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. Okay, well, let's talk about your leadership transition, because you mentioned, that you were in a VP of sales role, and then you transitioned. So what led to? Tell me what that looks like, but also what led you to make that decision.
It was a long process. I have been in, let's call it management. I hate the term management.
I do too.
Right, let's call it. I was in management back to when I was at New York Life, and made partner in 2015. is when I made partner there. So, started recruiting and hiring and developing, and this is not me saying this, but people have always said I have leadership qualities and just whatever that. I still don't really even know what that means, but people will come to me and ask me those kind of questions and want me involved in there. So I loved it because I want to pour into people. I got such a phenomenal opportunity when I was at New York Life in a career that I was never really interested in, right? Which once again, it was a God thing when you look back and all these things happen. It's amazing how he sets things up. But I was not interested in this career. I was interested in helping lead people and being, and this may have even been a selfish thing at the time when I look back at it, but I wanted to be in a position of status or authority, right? Because I wasn't in that previously. So that might have been a little bit of the driver for me. But once I got there, I did see that the opportunity to pour into people, to leave a lasting impact. In the life insurance industry, the attrition rate's pretty bad.
Yeah,
right? It's really
assume,
bad.
Yeah.
So it was funny, but some of the connections that I made, even with people who didn't make it in the business, I still have connections with them. I mean, one guy in particular is one of my very best friends. And he, worked for us for about a year. And actually, that's right when I made my transition over to SFP. And then Daniel kind of left the business, but he and I have remained so close. He still calls me one of his mentors. I don't know how much mentoring I'm doing nowadays, but it was a great opportunity and it was a great time for me to understand and start learning more about how I wanted to lead people. And most of it was by observing the other leaders that were in our business. Then I started getting kind of to a point where when I came over to Strategic Financial Partners, it was in 2018. They kind of recruited me away, and I came over to help run the office. And the unique thing is they wanted me to run my own practice as well. So kind of this dual role, which everybody at Strategic Financial, everyone on the leadership team still maintains their clients, and they run their book of business. Albeit it's at a lower level because we're not actively really out there trying to build our business. We're trying to help people build their business, right? Yeah. But I started kind of getting this itch again that this is really the direction I wanted to go, mostly because I wanted to be able to have more freedom and flexibility and be in control and not feel like I had to be tethered to my desk so much. And
so being in the leadership position allowed you that?
No, in the leadership position, I had to be involved. I had to be in the office more, and my schedule was not necessarily, probably 60% of my schedule was dictated by other people.
Gotcha.
Right,
Okay.
running meetings with new advisors and their clients, and then the management meetings and all that stuff. And that's kind of when Cole Crocker, my business partner, I hired Cole out of college and started helping kind of mentor him and teach him the little bit that I knew at the time. But then Cole and I went on a trip together. We went out, I think it was to Phoenix. Our broker dealer, had a meeting out there. So he and I went together and spent a lot of time together and talked about God, talked about our business, talked about what we wanted, our families and all that, and really just kind of had this really good connection. And then Candace and I, my wife, were kind of talking a little bit about, me breaking away and kind of going in, my own route. But then we started thinking about, do I need to take on a partner? Because I've been a team person my entire life. I don't want to do this by myself.
Yeah.
I couldn't do this by myself. I don't think I have the ability to. So we started talking about that. And then it wasn't a couple weeks later, Cole approached me and said, would you like to partner with me? And again, God has his way of doing things. And it's like, hey, dummy, this is the guy. This is the one that you need to work with. And that was 2 years ago that we formed our partnership. And then around the same time, I started talking to the owner of our firm, have a great relationship, very open and honest. He kind of saw in me a little bit of a shift and started asking me questions about what do you want to do career-wise? Where do you see your role with the firm? So I told him, and then a year and a half later, we continued these conversations, and finally we both said, now's the time. Let's have this kind of exit plan from the leadership role, and then rolled into just Cole and I working together.
That's cool. How's that been?
It's been great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been great.
Did you have moments of like, oh, I've like given up on this thing, or
Yeah, on the leadership side.
because an achiever, I feel like I
Yeah.
don't know that you're an achiever, but I feel you're an athlete, right? I
Yeah.
mean, there's that like keep moving up.
Yeah.
Was there ever a moment of like,
I don't remember one.
love that.
There may have been little bits, but I don't know if it was. I feel like they might tell me different, but I feel like I left the firm in a better place. It's and mostly kind of from a culture standpoint. I think we did a good job over the last, call it 7 or 8 years, in really building a culture that is welcoming. We have a great time. There's too many people that walk into an office and are miserable all day. I have never had a day. I don't mind going to the office. I just don't want to have to go to the office, right? Yeah. I love the people I work with. I spend more time with them than my family, on most occasions.
Is it hard for you? This is asking for a friend, because this is my problem. It's hard for me sometimes to not jump in and run something. Like when Mark and I, when we moved the townhome, we have our in-between that's been the 4-year in-between home.
Yeah.
The first HOA meeting, he's like, please don't run for president. And it's kind of because I don't, like, if I see something that I feel like isn't working, it's hard for me not to want to jump in. Do you have those moments? Like if you see something and you're like,
no,
I love that.
No, I really don't. And I'm one of I can identify, kind of maybe things that aren't working properly. But I've never been the one that just wants to jump in and take control of it. Not that I prefer a supportive role, but I'm okay with a supportive role as well.
I think that says a lot about how you all handled that transition, and a lot about how much thought you put into it, which is really cool.
Yeah. There was a book that I read. I cannot remember I'm horrible with authors, but I remember the books, and it's called Who Not How.
Yes.
And it's
Jeff, somebody.
I can't remember.
I think Jeff Smart, maybe.
But the whole thing is, it's just stop doing everything by yourself and figure out who can help you get things done.
Totally.
And that's been great, because
awesome.
it just frees you up to do the things that you actually, one, are good at, but two, enjoy doing.
No, I love that. I think that sometimes as leaders, our egos get wrapped around a title or a number, or and it's sometimes hard to go, what's really going to like make me happy and fill my soul, and so I think that's really awesome. I think that you've gotten something right that probably a lot of people haven't in that.
That's good, because this might be the only thing. So I got one right. That's good.
It. Well, I just asked this of a lot of people, but in this season, like, what are you focused on now as a leader? Like, what do you think leaders should be focused on if they're not?
You asking about, so for me personally, that term leadership, it's taken on a new meaning.
Right.
It's, when I think of leadership now, it's more leading family.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what it's become. I don't have to lead Cole, right? If anything, Cole and I play off of each other really well.
But don't you think you are, just by being older than him? You're leading in a way?
In a way.
I know you don't walk into the office every day thinking that, but I would say that, I don't know, just for me, anytime I worked around somebody that had been in the field longer than me, it was like whether they knew it or not, they were leading me, whether they did a good or a bad job.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too, is it's, you think about these leaders or mentors, and I know what people look at it and say it's an age thing. I mean, the fact that I'm 50 and Cole's 27, I mean, there's an obvious difference in our age.
Right. But you don't really feel it.
And I've been in the business much longer than him. But there's people who are much younger than me that have been in the business longer than me that they're mentors to me, right? So it's understanding. I think the real answer to this leadership is understanding what I'm good at and focusing on that part. It doesn't mean forget the other things, but it's focus on the things that I can do really well, because that just benefits me, it benefits Cole, it benefits our clients.
Sure.
And then we outsource the other stuff. So as a leader, I think understanding how we can get things done most efficiently and how we can still do it with a smile on our face is really important.
I love that. I don't know if I've ever shared with you my story, but you probably know I worked at Vanderbilt for a while. And what I always thought was interesting is that there wasn't a place where there was like a ton of turnover, but there was kind of, a lot of women that do what I did have babies, and they're usually not the breadwinner, and so they kind of back out of their career for a bit. But when I was there and it was like my dream job, and I looked at everybody that was still there, that had been there 10 or 15 years, that's not who I wanted to be.
Yeah.
So it was, and to me, there were like little things along the way that's like, now I can look back and go like, oh, it was the entrepreneur in me was like speaking to me the whole time. But I just remember going like, if that's the model of longevity, one like was always on burnout because she was working too hard. Other ones like complained all the time. I mean, there were some great ones too. I'm just saying that, I was watching these people that, I was maybe 3 or 4 years into a career and they were 10 or 15. And I was like, I don't want to be that one. I do want to be this one. And so whether or not we know it, I think at this stage and in our age, we are leading whether or not we mean to, just on our behaviors. And for you, even like this, my family's the most important thing. I mean, that's such a, even though you're not saying like that's how I'm showing up as a leader, it is. I mean, and I think, Cole will benefit from that for years to come.
Leadership is not, it's not the things you say, but it's obviously the things you do, or it's the reputation that precedes you before you walk into a room.
Yeah.
Right. And that's something that's
so important
that I think we all need to work on. I know I need to work on that. And it's, we've talked about it, and I've mentioned here, I mean, my faith is important. I mean, that, we're called to be a disciple before anything else. So that's what I'm working on. It's more of that, and understanding that God has me here to be a disciple first, then a husband, then a father, and then a friend, or whatever, a business person, or everything else falls well below those three categories. But if you focus those three things in the right priority, the other stuff falls into place properly, as it should.
No, I know. I think, especially in this world we're living in today, like, I mean, for me in the mornings, right, if I'm checking something on my phone for the kids for school, and that, you see the news and then it's like, let me go back to my Bible, because it's just it's so easy to get sucked into stuff. And I just feel like if all of us that have those beliefs, right, that yes, first we are to be disciples, if all of us really dig in and do that, and that's going to look different in all of our days and our homes and our communities. But I'm like, that sometimes I feel so helpless. I'm like, that's all I can do.
Yeah.
Is go back to that word and what I'm supposed to be doing there.
Yeah.
And to your point, everything else will shape it.
Well, it's my pastor has so many things he says, but one thing that sticks out with regards to this is the things that have your attention are going to show where your affection is too, right? And and if this is something Candace and I are working on. We continue to work on this, and it's not getting distracted by our phones while we're at home,
right?
And we both find ourselves doing this, and even if it's just real quick. So I go to CrossFit in the morning every morning, and at 8 o'clock the new workout comes. So. Like, it's almost like this thing, like, if I don't look at this thing within the next 5 minutes, I'm not going to know what, does it matter?
Right.
Right. And that's right at the time we're putting kids to bed. And I'm like, so just leave my phone. Don't even carry it with me. And I'm looking at this thing called the brick. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. I've seen it. My thing is I'll probably lose the brick.
Well, and I'm sitting there going, do we need this brick?
I know.
Just leave my phone
I've gone
in my
back
room?
and forth. Yeah, I know.
Not worry about it. But
I did just move some of my apps. I had, for the longest time, I had things like color coordinated, because this organization person years ago said your brain really goes to that, like, Facebook is blue, right? And so I had all my like blue apps are in one, and that's for true. That really worked. But then what my home screen now is just like the bank, checking on the coffee shop, Voxer with my assistant, those kind of things. And then I have to scroll over, even just that difference of like, my brain was going to pink for Instagram, for blue for Facebook. Even just changing that is just helped me, because it would be, that's what's hard, is that we're tethered to our phones for these things that matter. Like, even if I don't have my devotional on me, I've got the Bible app on my phone, so that's what I'm like, that's what's a real struggle, is like, so my discipline is to like, don't do that unintentionally. Don't pick up the phone unintentionally, because it is just easy to get sucked into somewhere that we don't need to be.
Well, and that, so one of the things there, you didn't even ask a question, so I'm not sure how we got on this, but I changed my home screen, or like when I look at it and it opens the phone, the first thing on there is a Bible verse for the day. Like, it's on the screen.
Yeah.
So it almost just gives you a reminder to focus where you're supposed to focus. Or, because how many times I've grabbed my phone to look at something, whether it's a bank account, something, And the first thing I do is hit that F.
I know.
And, I'm going, and then 20 minutes, I'm like, what are you doing?
Then we know what everybody else is doing.
And then I
know.
completely forget what I was supposed to do. So there's been a number of times I've taken Facebook completely off my phone, and it's been great. We do a 21-day fast to start the year as a church, and I've fasted social media. Christ Chapel in Spring Hill.
That's cool. Okay. I know there's a couple churches that do that. I think that's really awesome.
We do them twice a year, and then there's even smaller Sikh days where we do 3-day fasts. And
that's cool.
You know, it's funny. I told my pastor, I said that from a food standpoint, there's not much more I can fast. I can't give up anything else food-wise, but I can do some of these other things.
Yeah. I have a friend who's he's like slowly but surely, but just completed an 18-day water fast.
Good for him.
And he said he's like, me and God have never been tighter.
Absolutely.
And he didn't have, which I think is interesting, didn't have any of the, you know, sometimes people have like the flu-like symptoms. And, you know.
Yeah, you do a lot of detoxing through it.
But
Candace is on day 7 of a water fast right now.
That's interesting.
And it's really, I truly believe it's really helped heal her Achilles. So I tell you, she ruptured her Achilles, right? And that's really helped with the healing process of that as well.
I'm super interested in that because sometimes I used to do like intermittent fasting, but then I heard, and you know, that's the thing too, is there's so much noise out there, right? You know, just being a woman in my late 40s, that there's maybe like days during your cycle you should fast and shouldn't and things. And I'm like, oh, one more thing, you know, to worry about.
You and Candace need to meet.
We do.
Yeah, you guys need to talk. You guys are really, because she's a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah.
I mean, she's opening a practice to be a functional medicine.
So
I told you about that. So
and I just know she's like a take charge person, which I love. I know we get along.
And she's from the Northeast, so she's not going to sugarcoat it. It's going to come right at you.
No, bless your hearts from her.
Not much. We're working on it. We're working on it.
She hasn't been here long enough. I love that. Okay, well, I think we have one more question, which is the one that Lynn left for you, Lynn Silverman. So this is a good one. You'll be great. What would you tell your younger self who was just starting out, like career-wise?
How much time do we have?
I know, right? The older we get,
so there'd be a number of things I tell myself not to do, right? And really, but this is career-wise. Is that what you're saying, career-wise? So I played my first career was professional baseball, right? So I got drafted by the New York Mets, and I played 3 years in the minor leagues, and I had a phenomenal time, great time. And I tell myself 2 things. The first thing I would say is, what's the right word? I'll tell the story. So when as a little kid playing t-ball, little league, high school baseball, college baseball, everything is about winning championships as a team, right? You get into minor league baseball, it's not about winning championships. It's about getting to the next level. And that goes individually. So that goes from the kid in the clubhouse who's washing towels to the manager of the team. Everybody wants to get to the next level so you can eventually get to the big leagues. It was not about team. I made some great relationships, but you know, I got really, I don't know if disenchanted, I don't know what the right word is, but just this culture shock of this is not a team anymore. Because we would lose by 15 runs, but somebody'd hit 2 home runs and they'd come in and they'd be in a good mood. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense.
Right. Oh, that's interesting.
So I would say give myself a warning of how that was going to be. And then I truly don't live with regrets too much. I don't think they're, you know, we are where we are because of the things we've done. And I'm very happy. We have a great life and all that. But when I got released by the Mets, I had a couple of opportunities to play with a few other teams, big league teams in the minors. And I was kind of like, I think I'm done with baseball. I always told myself if I had to repeat a level in the minor leagues, unless it was AA or AAA, then I would probably walk away. But then when I got home, I got a call from the Italian national team because I was born in Italy. My dad was in the service, so I think I still have dual citizenship. I don't know if it matters. But they called and wanted me to come to Italy and play professional baseball in Italy.
And like, how old are you at this time?
I was 24.
Wow. Okay.
I think I was 24, maybe 25. And I didn't even entertain. Like I could have just taken the trip over there.
Right.
And I didn't even do that.
Yeah.
So I would say understand what you're getting into when you go to play professional baseball, and then take that opportunity. Because I had a good friend of mine that I played college ball with that had like a 12-year career in Italy, and played in the Olympics and did all this cool stuff. That would have been
Do you think that's I'm not into baseball. I'm like, sorry, never been a huge baseball fan.
Okay.
I was always like,
It's
so
pretty
glad.
boring.
I was so glad my
It's
boys
pretty
didn't want to play it.
Yep.
Yeah. Is that unique to baseball, or do you think when you get like if you get higher in basketball, football, that those same things?
I don't know. I know basketball now has some of those kind of levels as well. I think football is just you either they have practice squads and all those things, but
But
I
that
think
feeling of like it's not about the team. Do you think that's
yeah, that's
unique?
what I think it might be unique to baseball just
Yeah.
because there's so many
The nature
levels.
of
Like
it.
when I was
Yeah,
playing with the
yeah.
Mets, there was like 8 different levels before you got to the big leagues.
Wow. But I don't know, even this, like, I don't, it's going to show sports ball. This is what I'm talking about. But how you can move around in college now. I'm like, even that is like so disheartening to me
It is.
because
It's
why I always loved college sports more than
Yeah.
professionals because it felt like.
But even when you think, and I hate that. I mean, I love that this could be a sports conversation.
Yeah.
But
Well, it wouldn't last very long. But yeah.
good thing we only have so much.
Yeah.
But even when I was a little kid, I was a Cubs fan as a little kid, and everybody on the team was the same people that were on the team the next year.
Yeah.
All that free agency, the stuff that wasn't going on in the early and mid '80s. It started happening towards I guess in the mid '90s or whatever. But now with college football and it's just so different. I don't even really pay attention
And
to
how
it
they're
anymore
like all
because of
making
that.
money. I'm like,
Yeah.
like
Do
it
you know
was.
how much money I made my first year playing professional baseball?
No, how much?
Every month I got a check for $720.
And like, did you have time to have another job?
No.
That's insane.
I know.
I was gonna say there's
Luckily,
no way, and there wasn't like
we lived with
DoorDash
a
or
host
anything.
family,
Okay.
but I gave them $100, like $100 a month or something like that.
You
But
just gotta really love it.
you do, and it's at that time, and they're paid better now. I don't think they're making great money now, but they might make close to 6 figures or something. But it was a dream that you had, which I think is what's ruined college sports now, and even that is
right, the heart of it.
yeah. Now these kids are making millions and millions of dollars before they're even professional. It's just crazy to me.
Right. And I'm sure.
I mean, I wish that had been the case when I was playing,
and then
right?
your
Wouldn't it
wealth
be great?
advisor brain kicks on. So
Yeah.
that's super interesting. Well, thanks. We could talk forever, but it's
I'm sure
always
we could.
always a pleasure. And one thing I did forget to ask, we'll probably have to reverse this in editing, because I like to ask about just your next mile experience, which you shared a little bit, but because this is part of that, like tell me, like what's a favorite thing for you, and it doesn't have to be a nugget or something. It could be a favorite thing about the group or a favorite event, but
it's just the transparency of it. I'm a, for lack or good or bad, right? I'm a pretty open and transparent person. I've learned that. That's another byproduct of my health journey and all that stuff is just I am who I am, and I think everybody who's involved in that group is very transparent, very personable, very open, and it's not a group. You don't go in there just to gather up a bunch of new clients or prospects. You go in there to make connections. If I can make a connection in Next Mile that can help my clients, that's what I'm looking for.
Right.
If business comes from it, obviously that's great, but that's not the point of it, which is what I like.
Yeah.
And also like with my strategic sessions is kind of a play off of that, and it's similar to that. It's never going to be a business or anything. It's just a place to connect, and that's what I like about Next Mile.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, the small rooms I think have been the powerful thing, and we control for who's in it. It just hit me a couple weeks ago. I was like, I think what I'm saving people time because of the speed of trust that can happen because it's a vetted room. So
and that's really key.
Yeah,
that's really key. And I like. Forgive me, I forget the names of the things that we had, but like what we did yesterday. That intimate setting where there's 8, 10 people in there. Those are the ones I like. That's why I don't miss them. If I have time, I'm going.
I know. I was telling somebody the other day. I love learning, but I got to where if I was going to a keynote, it was like, hey, let me take notes, and then you go back to momming and working, and so for me, there's something about those sessions where we're talking about it, and it feels like ask him a question, like ask you've listened to him and her, now ask them something that'll help you,
right.
and to me, it's like that then, we talk about like hardwiring it into our brain so that change can actually happen. That's why those small events, I think, are they're all small, but that's why I did that, because I was just like, if I want high achievers and busy people to be here, but I want their lives to be better because of it, then it can't be the keynote mic drop.
Yeah.
Everybody go back to work.
Yeah.
Saying so.
Yeah.
I'm super glad you're a part of it.
Thank you.
Very glad we're connected, and thanks for sharing.
Good. Thank you.
Thanks so much for spending time with us on the In Good Company podcast. If today's conversation resonated with you, I'd love for you to share it with someone who might need it, or leave a quick review so that more people can find the show. And if you're curious about Next Mile, our community is built around these same kinds of conversations. We're so glad you're here, and we'll see you next time.